All right, get ready, because today we're taking you on a deep dive into the world of Uniswap. We're going to dig into how this decentralized exchange actually works.
Yeah, it's incredible how Uniswap has become so important in DeFi.
Absolutely. So first things first, let's break down this whole decentralized exchange thing. Imagine like trading stocks, right? But there's no broker, no central authority calling the shots.
Yeah, it's a radical idea, but it works. And the heart of it all is these things called automated market makers,
Yeah.
AMMs for short.
AMMs, okay.
So instead of those traditional order books you're used to, Uniswap uses liquidity pools, which are basically these big reserves of two different tokens.
So like instead of buyers and sellers, it's more like...
It's like a big digital pot, right, of, say, ETH and DAI, and they're constantly adjusting their ratio based on supply and demand.
Ah, I see. So how does that actually work in practice? Like if I want to trade some ETH for DAI, what determines the price?
Okay, so this is where that famous equation everyone's always talking about comes in. XY equals K. It's simpler than it looks, but this is the backbone of how Uniswap figures out prices.
Okay, but how does that equation actually work in a real trade?
Well, think about it. Traditional exchanges have those lists of buy and sell orders, right? Uniswap's different. The prices get determined right then and there based on the current ratio of those two tokens in the pool. So if you're switching ETH for DAI, the price you get is tied to that formula, XY equals K.
Got it. So the more I trade, the more that ratio in the pool changes.
Exactly. And large trades, they can actually shift the price, which is where slippage comes in. You might not get the exact price you saw at first.
Makes sense. So is that where the whole idea of arbitrage comes into play?
Exactly. Because Uniswap's prices are based on these algorithms, there are these little windows of opportunity for traders to profit from price differences. Say DAI is trading for $1 on ones on Binance, but because of some recent activity, it's briefly available for $1 on Uniswap.
A savvy trader could see that in...
They could jump on that price difference.
Yeah.
Buy the DAI on Uniswap, immediately sell it on Binance for a profit.
So they're kind of exploiting the differences in price.
Yeah, but here's the thing. They're actually helping to stabilize the market by doing that.
How so?
Think about it. These arbitrageurs, they're bringing those prices back in line across all the different exchanges. It's this self-correcting thing built right into the system. But before we go too deep down the arbitrage rabbit hole, let's rewind a bit.
Back to the beginning.
Right. Uniswap didn't just magically appear.
So we're talking V1 and V2.
Exactly. Version 1, it was revolutionary for its time. It proved that this whole AMM thing could actually work. But like with anything new, there are some limitations.
There's always room for improvement.
Exactly. And that's where V2 came in, big upgrades. One of the most important ones was introducing these direct token-to-token swaps.
Okay, I'm all ears. What was different before that?
Before V2, every single trade, and I mean every single one, had to involve ETH as this intermediary step. So say you had token A and you wanted token B. You had to trade token A for ETH, then ETH for token B V2. It streamlined that whole process.
So cut out the middleman, so to speak.
Exactly. It allowed these direct swaps between any supported token pair. Much smoother.
That's a game changer. So we've got these AMMs, liquidity pools, that equation, and we've even touched on arbitrage. It's really amazing to see how those early versions laid the groundwork for what Uniswap is today.
Oh, and we're just getting started. It gets even more interesting as we dig into how you can actually get involved in the crazy features that came in later updates. You know, with Uniswap, it's not just about watching what's happening. You can actually get in there yourself, become part of it.
Oh, how so?
Remember those liquidity pools we were talking about?
Yeah.
Well, you can be a liquidity provider.
So instead of just trading, I could be the one providing the tokens for others to trade.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay. How does that work then?
It's actually pretty straightforward. You put in an equal value, right, of two different tokens into a pool. Let's stick with our ETH and DI example from before.
Okay, so ETH and DI.
Right. By doing that, you're kind of like, you become this mini banker, you know, for the whole Uniswap ecosystem.
A mini banker. Okay, I like the sound of that. What's the incentive for me, though? Why would I want to be a liquidity provider in the first place?
The main reason is this. You get to earn a share of the trading fees that that pool generates. So every time someone makes a trade using that ETH DI pool you've contributed to, you get a cut, a small percentage.
So it's a way to earn some passive income from my crypto.
Exactly. Passive income, always a good thing, right?
I mean, that sounds amazing. But there's got to be some kind of downside, right? It can't be all sunshine and roses.
Well, you're right. There are some risks to be aware of. The biggest one is something called impermanent loss.
Impermanent loss. That doesn't sound so good. What is that?
So remember how we talked about the ratio of tokens in a pool? It's always adjusting, right, based on trades and that XYK thing.
Yeah, to keep things balanced.
Exactly. But here's the thing. If the price of one of those tokens you put in, if it changes a lot on other exchanges compared to its price inside that Uniswap pool, then you could be in for some trouble that's in permanent loss. Basically, it means you might end up with a bit less value when you take your tokens back out compared to if you just held on to them the whole time.
So it's like a trade-off. I could make some extra money with those trading fees, but there's a chance I might lose some value if the market goes haywire.
Exactly. That's the idea. It's a bit of a balancing act. And it's called impermanent loss for a reason.
Why is that?
If the price of those assets, the ones you put in, if they go back to the same ratio they were at when you first provided the liquidity, well, the impermanent loss, it just disappears. It's not permanent, get it? But there's obviously no way to know if that will happen.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
I mean, liquidity providing, it's definitely interesting. But yeah, definitely need to be careful and really weigh those rewards against the risks.
100%. Being informed is key, especially in this space. But now, you ready for something really wild? Let's talk flash swaps. Flash swaps, that sounds intense. In a good way. Flash swaps, I'll be honest, that sounds a little intimidating. Like something only super traders use.
They sound more complicated than they are. Basically, it's like a loan, but you pay it back instantly. And I mean instantly, all while making a trade.
Hold on, how is that even possible? This isn't Back to the Future. We don't have time travel yet.
It's all about smart contracts, really. With flash swaps, you're borrowing assets from a liquidity pool, making a trade, and then paying back that loan, all in one go, one single transaction. But there's a catch.
There's always a catch. What's this one?
If that trade you made, if it doesn't make a profit, the whole thing just reverts. Back to square one, like it never even happened.
It was like a safety net for traders.
Exactly. No need to put up any collateral or anything like that.
So no risk of getting wiped out if the market takes a turn.
I see. But I'm guessing this isn't for your average, everyday trader like me.
Well, they're particularly useful for, say, arbitrageurs, remember them, the ones who need to be lightning fast to take advantage of those price differences on different exchanges.
Right, right.
With flash swaps, they can access these huge amounts of capital just for a moment to capitalize on those price discrepancies. Then, bam, they pay it back immediately.
That's incredible. Uniswap just keeps pushing the boundaries. But it's not all just for the traders, right?
Yeah.
Uniswap v3, didn't that have some big improvements for liquidity providers too?
Oh, absolutely. You're talking about concentrated liquidity, one of the biggest upgrades in v3. Before that, when you provided liquidity, your tokens were kind of spread out across the entire price range. Concentrated liquidity lets you focus.
Focus on what?
On a specific price range where you think most of the trading action is going to be. So instead of my tokens being all over the place, I can pick a zone, so to speak, and concentrate them there.
You got it. And if you're right about where that price is going to be, well, you can get a bigger share of those trading fees. More control, more efficiency, potentially higher returns. It's a win-win.
Sounds pretty appealing. So we've got concentrated liquidity. What else did V3 bring to the table?
Oh, it also made some major improvements to the Uniswap price oracle.
The price oracle, I always thought Uniswap was mainly about swapping tokens. Where does this oracle thing fit in?
Good question. You see, Uniswap isn't just an exchange. It's also this source of really reliable price data. Other decentralized applications, they actually use it.
Oh, I didn't realize. So what is this price oracle exactly?
Think of it like, a live feed of token prices, constantly updating based on all the trading activity happening within Uniswap's liquidity pools.
So other DeFi platforms, they use this data for their own stuff.
Exactly. Borrowing and lending protocols, for example, they rely on this kind of accurate price data, to figure out things like collateral requirements, interest rates, that kind of thing. And V3 made this oracle even more secure, harder to manipulate. So the data it gives out is super reliable.
Wow, Uniswap really is more than just an exchange. It's like essential to the whole DeFi ecosystem, providing the tools, driving innovation. And there's more coming, right? Uniswap X, that's the next big thing.
That's the one, Uniswap X. It's still in development, but it's aiming to be a real game changer. Imagine a world with gas-free swaps.
Gas-free, as in no more Ethereum gas fees?
You got it. No more of those pesky fees.
Now, that would be amazing. Those gas fees, they're a real pain. But how would they even pull that off?
The idea is to shift Who pays for the gas? So it's not on the users anymore. Instead, there are these specialized parties. They're called fillers. They're the ones competing to execute the trades at the best prices, and they take care of the gas fees.
Interesting. So it takes the pressure off the user.
Exactly. It should make the whole trading experience way smoother, cheaper, the works.
That's really something. And wasn't there something about cross-chain compatibility, too?
You're on top of it. That's another big goal for Uniswap X, the ability to trade seamlessly across different blockchains.
So I could swap a token on Ethereum for one on, say, Polygon.
Directly. None of that complicated bridging stuff.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless. We've covered a lot today, haven't we? From the basics of AMMs to these mind-blowing concepts like flash swaps and now Uniswap X. It's clear that Uniswap is more than just a place to trade tokens.
It really is. It's like this glimpse into the future of finance.
Exactly. A future where things are open, transparent, accessible to everyone. And I have a feeling this is just the beginning. It's an exciting time to be involved in this space.
Couldn't agree more.
So, for everyone listening, here's something to think about. What happens if this catches on? If this way of doing things, if it becomes the norm? Could it actually challenge the traditional financial systems? Who knows what the future holds? But understanding Uniswap, well, it gives you a front row seat to this whole revolution that's unfolding. And that's a wrap on our deep dive into the fascinating world of Uniswap.